All right, welcome back. Time for a little WNBA as the WNBA turns. Charles and Maurice joining me. Gentlemen, yesterday I was pretty critical of the Caitlin Clark situation. I've been making a call for like, hey, Caitlin Clark can't remain silent on this issue. We went through this all last year where Caitlin Clark's injuries were kind of left unexplained, and we never heard from Caitlin Clark despite the thought, hey, she's going to return at any time, and they kept her away from the media, and she never.
The biggest star in the entire history of women's sports walked off the hardwood in the middle of a highly publicized game, and absolutely nobody in the mainstream media possesses the courage to ask her why. We are currently 6 days removed from the incredibly controversial incident involving Caitlin Clark, Alyssa Thomas, and the Indiana Fever, and the silence coming out of that locker room is absolutely deafening. The official narrative is that Clark left the game due to a nagging back injury, but an incredibly loud, highly controversial counter-narrative is rapidly gaining traction. Did Caitlin Clark simply quit on her team because she was absolutely furious with her head coach?
It's. I disagree with this. I think Caitlin Clark needs to come out and talk and address this. Maurice, your thoughts?
I think the Indiana Fever are hiding all microphones and cameras, keeping them away from Caitlin Clark because I don't believe Caitlin Clark left the game. I'm standing on this hill. I don't think she left the game because of her back. I think she left the game because she was upset with Stephanie White. And I don't really think Caitlin.
You are locked into WNBA Watch, the absolute authority on the raw, unfiltered truth behind the biggest cover-ups in professional basketball. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and let's dive directly into the absolute media blackout surrounding the golden goose of the WNBA. To truly comprehend the sheer absurdity of this situation, you have to look at the incredibly bizarre behavior of the Indiana Fever organization immediately following the game. The front office is operating like a high-level political campaign, essentially hiding all microphones and cameras, actively keeping the press completely away from Caitlin Clark. Stephanie White and Kelsey Mitchell were marched out to the post-game podium to face the music, but the face of the franchise was completely nowhere to be found. Why? Because the back injury excuse is rapidly falling apart. Prominent analysts and former coaches are looking at the tape and arriving at a significantly more controversial conclusion. Clark didn't leave the game because her back was in agonizing pain. She left because she was entirely fed up with Stephanie White aggressively mismanaging her minutes, and she threw the ultimate superstar tantrum by simply walking off the floor. But the most terrifying part of this entire saga isn't the walk-off itself. It is the absolute, cowardly silence of the sports journalists assigned to cover the team. Why is absolutely nobody asking Stephanie White the simple, obvious question? Why did your superstar leave the game? The answer lies in the chilling, cautionary tale of Scott Agness. Agness, an incredibly respected, consistent reporter who has covered the Fever for years through Fieldhouse Files, was allegedly stripped of his credentials simply because he reported accurate, inside information regarding the organization's strategic load management plans for Clark. The Fever front office executed a brutal, professional hit job, essentially handing Agnes a financial death blow to send a massive warning to the rest of the media pool. The message was crystal clear. Do not ask the hard questions, do not report the unvarnished truth, or you will be permanently locked out of the building. The current media pool is completely terrified, functioning less like journalists and more like state-sponsored propagandists. Because the media is absolutely paralyzed by fear, they desperately needed a massive distraction to cover up the embarrassing reality of their superstar walking out mid-game. And they found the absolute perfect scapegoat in Alyssa Thomas. When Thomas delivered that incredibly...
I'm just asking.
I did not, because I don't care about handshakes. And her and Flau'jae, they've never liked each other. I didn't make a big deal. Again, you go back to college, Flau'jae's mother said that Angel Reese had a
That's what that was
1.5
about.
GPA, and I didn't cover that.
Hey, I want to ask you one quick question because I know
Yeah.
we're short on time. I want to ask both of you guys, because I've seen a lot of
controversial physical strike to Clark's neck area in the second quarter, the media and the fan base, often referred to as the Caitlyn cult, absolutely weaponized the moment. They generated a massive, hysterical outrage campaign surrounding that single freeze frame, effectively turning a standard, highly physical WNBA foul into a national crisis broadcasted on CNN. The outrage was so blinding, so completely overwhelming, that it successfully distracted the entire country from the fact that Clark mysteriously walked off the court a full quarter later without a single visible sign of physical injury. The media used Alyssa Thomas as a human shield to protect Caitlyn Clark from accountability. To truly expose the staggering hypocrisy of this situation, you simply have to apply the exact same scenario to the ultimate villain of the WNBA, Angel Reese. Let's be brutally, completely honest. If Angel Reese had walked off the court in the middle of the third quarter, offering absolutely zero explanation, the mainstream sports media would have absolutely crucified her. They would have dedicated entire, hour-long monologues to tearing apart her character. They would have labeled her a quitter, called her immature, and actively demanded that her corporate sponsors immediately drop her. Angel Reese knows it, the fans know it, and the analysts know it. But because Caitlyn Clark is the protected golden goose of the league, she doesn't even have to offer a post-game explanation. The media simply invents the excuses for her. She broke her fingernail, her back hurts, and the public is completely expected to blindly swallow the propaganda. When logic completely fails, the defense forces always run directly to demographic warfare. Recently, a highly controversial narrative emerged suggesting that Alyssa Thomas was only receiving this massive wave of extreme vitriol because of her sexuality.
Watching this podcast right now, and I hope that they are, they're thinking to themselves, oh, wait a minute, man. Why do we have to hold a press conference explaining why somebody fouled Caitlyn Clark? Did you not watch us play this weekend? They got knocked on their tail so many times, and you knock Olivia Miles down, and she's looking at you. All right, all right. Same thing with Paige Beckers. They run through the lane, they get knocked down. They go in, everybody gets fouled in basketball. Guess what? The really good players, they get fouled more than
The argument implied that if Thomas were a straight woman, the Caitlyn cult wouldn't be attacking her nearly as hard. That is an absolute, complete deflection. The reality is that the ultra-defensive fan base protecting Caitlyn Clark is an equal opportunity enforcer. They do not care about a player's race, background, or sexual orientation. When Kelsey Plum played tight, 94-foot defense on Clark during the All-Star game, she was immediately viciously attacked online and labeled jealous. If Aya Wilson, who is entirely heterosexual, had delivered the exact same hit as Alyssa Thomas, she would have received the exact same level of absolute, unhinged backlash. The outrage isn't rooted in demographics. It is rooted entirely in an obsessive need to protect the superstar from any perceived slight, real or imagined. The WNBA is currently operating inside an incredibly dangerous, highly protected echo chamber. The executives are terrified of their star player, the media is completely terrified of the front office, and the fans are actively being fed a highly sanitized, entirely manufactured version of reality. Until a journalist finally possesses the absolute courage to sit Caitlyn Clark down in front of a microphone and ask her directly why she abandoned her team in the middle of a game, the truth will remain completely buried underneath a mountain of excuses. I want to hear exactly what you guys think about this massive double standard. If Angel Reese pulled this exact same stunt, would her career be completely over? And is the media actively covering up for Caitlyn Clark? Drop your absolute most honest, unfiltered thoughts down in the comments below. Make sure you hit that subscribe button to stay locked in on the truth, and I will see you all in the very next video.